Well, this is Abraham Lincoln's chart. His chart is on the inside,
That's his
and
natal chart, right?
that's his natal chart. So these are where the planets were when he was born, which was the 12th of February, 1809. And he was shot, I believe, on the 14th of April, 1865. And we learnt earlier that I believe the Civil War actually finished on the 9th of April, 1865. There was a total lunar eclipse on the 10th of April, the day after, at 21 degrees of Libra. So that's interesting. But anyway, this is Lincoln's chart in the middle. And on the outside, we have the eclipse of the 25th of April, which was, when was he shot? I can't remember.
The 14th, April 14th.
This was, yeah. He was the president we were talking about who was shot in between eclipses. So you can see here the eclipse degree, 5 degrees of Taurus, is right on his south node, which south node is often considered malefic or not good. Doesn't bring good things. It's in his 4th house of home and family, but it's also the grave. It's endings as well. So it's rather interesting that this eclipse happened on his south node. We also have Saturn, the greater malefic, on his natal Mars. So this is really hard. We've got the eclipse degree in an angular house.
They're definitely telling.
Yeah.
The inner circle there is the what we call the natal promise. So you will see a lot of things, a lot of signatures in the natal house that get played out throughout the years. So this did not happen when he was 2 years old. So these planets are all lining up this specific way for his assassination. I just want to say you can't get married, be a president, die, and learn how to walk and graduate kindergarten all in one time. So you have to break that up. And so that's how this is showing with this eclipse. That was just after, because the eclipses can affect change either before or within 2 months, either before or after, or sometimes even a year. So this is the eclipse after his assassination.
Yeah, what I thought was really interesting too was I set the eclipse charts for all the presidents for where they were born. They probably weren't living there at the time. They were probably in Washington or wherever when the eclipse happened. But when we look at solar returns, when you're doing, well, I do, and I know Donna does, and a lot of Hellenistic astrologers set it for the birthplace. So I set these for the birthplace, and doing that, the MC for the time of this eclipse fell on his natal Mercury, which amongst other things rules his 8th house of death. So I thought that was interesting too. Also the 5th house, which we were talking about, he was in a theatre at the time, which is very 5th house, so that fit as well. And then you've got that Uranus, transiting Uranus would have been in that, at the time of the eclipse, was in his 5th house, opposed by Jupiter in the 11th.
A retrograde Jupiter.
Yes, very interesting. And then if we look at the Aries Ingress for that year, we did a podcast on Aries Ingress and how you could tell what was ahead for the nation and set for the nation's capital. This is for Washington, D.C. in 20th of March, 1865. We've got the moon in the 8th, and the moon represents the people. So I don't know whether there was a lot of national mourning at the time or not, but I imagine it was. I mean,
it was right after the Civil War. I suspect half the country was mourning.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. You've got Mars and Uranus in the 1st house, which represents the country in general, with Mars being violence and Uranus being unexpected and upheaval, and
and Mercury is under the beams, the ascendant ruler of that Aries Ingress chart. So, and if Virgo is in the 4th house, so those are all telling signs of probably not a really good year.
Yeah. The sun can represent the ruler, but we can also look at the 10th house and see what the ruler of the 10th house is, which is Jupiter. So Jupiter was opposite that Uranus at the time. So yeah, not good for the ruler of the country at that time. And as it turned out, that was very right.
Yeah.